What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Now today I'm delivering a video that, to be completely honest, I didn't think that I would ever film. This is completely unscripted, so I have a few bullet points, but very unlike me, I'm kind of gonna wing it and really speak from the heart here based on an insight and a reflection that, to be completely honest, is fairly flipping new. Let me give you some context. I am 35 now. I was a Royal Marines commando for about 5 years. Completed commando training, I served in Iraq and I served in Afghanistan. And one sponsoring question that I've been asking myself over the last probably about 6-9 months is whether or not military service is advantageous, whether or not it is a good thing, a positive choice for a lot of young men. When we look at the delta of what the military is, the virtues that they instill, the virtues that they establish from nothing and or build upon, and the kind of experiences, both positive and negative, that they give young guys. When we look at the delta, basically the gap between that and modern society, I believe that that is a bigger gap than it's ever been. Basically, I believe in a, speaking in generalities, a very hyper-liberal, hyper-progressive, kind of extremely flipping woke modern world. The way that the military functions, in my opinion, has never been further apart from the rest of society. I think that young men joining the military, even for a short period of time of 3-4 years, might be the most productive thing that they can do. There's a few reasons for that, and why I believe most young men should consider the military is what I'm going to go over with you now. Number one, the fairly obvious one, a sense of brotherhood, a sense of connection with your other male friends and male counterparts, which is just so unbelievably hard to replicate in the modern world. I listen to a lot of evolutionary psychology podcasts, and one of the things that's kind of entered into my mind over the last 12-18 months is that the way that women form friendships and the way that men form friendships is very different. The way that men do is by overcoming adversity together. When you're doing something that's flipping hard and you've got a guy, you've got a buddy, you've got another recruit in your troop or whatever doing this stuff next to you, there's a level of trust and resonance there, basically straight off the bat. And for those young guys that have ever done something hard with someone else, you'll realize, right, it just forms a bond that's so bloody strong. It's, to be honest, fucking impossible to do the same and to replicate that if you're working 9 to 5 in an office. Sports teams have it as well, right? Probably a little bit different in individual sports. If you're a, I don't know, sprinter or a tennis player or whatever, it might not be the same. But in a team sport, like football, like rugby, you're gonna get that level of flipping brotherhood when you're the guys that turn up every Tuesday and Thursday night and it's just absolutely hounding it down with rain. And it's kind of miserable, but overcoming that together, it just solidifies the bond between you and the other. And there's a level, again, there's a level of trust that you know that they can handle tough shit. And that's the kind of thing that forms friendships. And that's what you get in the military, especially in training, in my opinion, that the modern world, that modern society doesn't even try and do. The second thing is a purpose. This is one of the reasons it's so hard to replicate that hard work and that adversity. I have no problem applying hard work and applying hard effort, but there's a mechanism within me, and I reckon there's a mechanism within most men, that hard work, the amount of effort that you can attribute to something is supercharged. It's bloody 10x'd when it's being applied for a reason. Hard work can't just be done if there's no fucking purpose for it. You literally have a gear that you won't be able to tap into if you're wondering what the hell all of this is for. Hard work requires direction, it requires meaning. And the military, especially in training, gives you that meaning. In a unit, it is slightly different, especially in peacetime, when even when you're on a hard exercise and you're overseas, you kind of know that it's an exercise. And a lot of the time, the lens you're looking at it through is, this is pretty miserable, let's just flip and get this done. I was quite lucky that after commando training, I was only in a unit for, I don't know, maybe 12 weeks before I was selected for a small 23-man mission to Iraq and jumped straight into pre-deployment training for that. So when you're doing pre-deployment training, when you're doing PDT, you're definitely looking at it through a different lens, because even though it's an exercise, it is for a purpose, because you're like, this is my opportunity to practice a skill, and I'm not gonna get that many opportunities to practice. I'm not gonna get many reps of this particular drill or whatever before I actually flip and go overseas and have to do this stuff with live ammo. Everything you do in that setting feels more purposeful. Everyone switches into that slightly higher gear. They switch the fuck on mentally, and they apply more effort and more focus and attention on everything they're doing, because they know that we might have to replicate this exact drill in 3 months' time in Helmand or in Qasar or wherever the hell you're going. Number 3, bit of a random one now, completely neutral foundations of status. What does that mean? It means all men, regardless of age. So some of the guys were 16, Some of the guys were 32, some of the guys were working class, some of the guys had flipping master's degrees, some of the guys didn't have any GCSE, some of the guys had come from a professional career, some of the guys were professional athletes, some of them never really got involved in sport. All previous accolades and finance and any other like status building thing that you built up in the modern world was basically parked. None of that got to come with you when you started training. You all had the same haircut, you all had the same fucking uniform. The foundation of who you were and the kind of man that you were considered to be had a reset button pushed on it week one, day one. And there's something, I don't know, flipping amazing about that, because it shows that you back yourself, that you are willing to put yourself in a situation where the only way that you can prove that you are capable is through applying effort, and you're having to build that from the ground up with nothing other than your own hard work. Status level 0, everyone's the same. Everything else that you'd done before NOD training became completely meaningless. And that status and hierarchy and male value reset button was strangely, I don't know, I really liked it because I backed my own ability to put in flipping hard work and suffer for that purpose, that I loved going into commando training on that blank canvas. Number 4, I reckon this is going to resonate with a lot of young guys now. There was a level of stimulation that is just that much higher than the rest of the modern world, where I believe, both before and now, since I've been out the military for about 10 years, the modern world can feel, even though it's super busy and super hectic, it's a different kind of stress. There aren't like acute stresses like flipping car crashes, it's just generally higher levels of stress, kind of ambiently, ubiquitously through the rest of your day. But overall, even with those high stress levels, the modern world can feel weirdly underwhelming. There are a hell of a lot of physically and mentally ambitious young guys that are doing what they're doing in life and kind of feeling as though they're weirdly stuck in the matrix, and they're looking around being like, this can't be the only thing I'm meant for. There has to be like a bigger game to play. There's probably a hell of a lot of you that have either thought that in the past or think that on a fucking daily basis. And if that voice and that narrative persists in your mind, the only thing that's going to do is continue to motivate you to start playing this bigger game, to get to the flipping start line of something that's bigger, of something that's more intense, of something that's going to make you feel alive. That leads me on to reason number 5, where I believe every man should at least consider a short stint in the military, and that is to test yourself. Most young men that are ambitious in some way want to pit themselves against something challenging, against the most challenging thing they can find. Some guys, to be completely honest, probably want to do this academically, so they're rising through the ranks of that. They do their degree, they do their masters, they want to nail a PhD and then get a decent lecturing job, and that's absolutely fine. But I believe there's an incredible amount of young men that are still driven towards, that still have these more primal urges to pit themselves against more primal challenges, the military being a very good example of that. There is an innate need for young men to see what they're capable of. And the military is one of the only confines, it's one of the only paradigms in the modern world that allows those young men to really fulfill that need and see if they can hack what they think they can. Number 6, kind of linked to this, manhood beyond question. In a world where there is no clear-cut line that we can cross and objectively say, I am a man, I am masculine AF, there's nothing you can say about it because I've done X, it's very hard to be able to call ourselves a man without having that been proved in some way. There's no tribal initiation or rite of passage. Back in the day, we used to go out when we were 14, fucking kill an elk and drag it back to the village and feed the village with the hunting skills that we'd learnt from the age of 4. At this point, everyone else in the tribe might still take the piss out of you for whatever funny little quirks or idiosyncrasies that you've got, but your manhood, the fact that you are a flipping capable man, wasn't in question because there was a specific test or a specific thing that you needed to perform, that you needed to complete, and you have completed that. And there was something beautiful about that. I kind of weirdly feel as I've been born in the wrong time, like if I was born in some old Viking village and I went out and knocked fuck out of a buffalo and dragged it back to the campfire. Manhood, beyond question, there is a specific criteria, but now it's bloody hard because I think every single thing that we do, if we follow pretty much any natural impulse, we're considered and called out as toxic, which I'll get to in a minute. But basically, the military offers a way for so many young men to substantiate and prove their masculinity better, in my opinion, than most other social constructs do. As I just mentioned, the world at large can be a difficult place for young men to exist. I'm not saying that it is not difficult for young women. I think that it is difficult for flipping everyone, but being a young guy, I can only speak to my experience, and I do think that one of the biggest issues now is that so many of our impulses, so many of our drivers, if we want to flip in, go and have a wrestle, if we want to do something physical, sometimes we feel angry, sometimes we feel assertive, sometimes we feel lost and confused, because there's just so much pent up energy within most young men, and any outlet for that, not any outlet, but an incredible number of outlets for that will be completely flipping natural, are just getting called toxic. And I really flipping hate that. So I'll say this: I believe the military does not create toxic masculinity if it's approached correctly. If a military environment is held and executed in the right way, it harnesses the power and the primal masculine energy that young men have. Primal masculine energy, which is fucking amazing and healthy and incredible and constructive if it's used and harnessed properly. If all men at 18 years old were stripped of all previous status, the clothes they had, the money they had, the qualifications they have, everything like that, where they were just put into this pool where they all had to wear the same stuff, they had to put in an incredible amount of effort, both for the success of them and for the success of everyone else, success and safety of everyone else that they're working with. They would have to prove that they are men with nothing but their own hard work. This is a true meritocracy, right? It is a true environment that does reward merit and only merit, because it's not a video game. You can't just put in a cheat code one morning and then sit out of that day's exercise. Instilling healthy masculine values, independence, working individually for the success of yourself and for the rest of your team, working harder than you ever have before for the success of a shared goal. I'm telling you guys, there's nothing quite like it. And it really is from these ruminations over probably the last 12 months or so that I do genuinely believe at this present moment, in the beginning of July 2023, that all young men should consider a short stint in the military. The values and the virtues and the behaviors and the attitude that it will either build from scratch or build upon the foundations of, if you hopefully already have it, are second to none, and there's nothing that can replicate that. Some fucking team building exercise run by a group of pencil necks in the woods is not going to do the same by going and basically glamping for 3 fucking days in a field. If you're a young guy and you genuinely hate the outdoors, you are extremely introverted, the idea of the military literally feels like the worst thing in the world for you, then don't force it. You're clearly wired in a way that you're predisposed to a different life, and that is absolutely fine. I don't believe that it's I genuinely don't believe that it's hierarchical. But if you're someone who's had this aspiration for years and you've kind of romanticized the brotherhood and the sense of purpose, and you really are curious about what you're capable of if you were pushed to your limits, because you know there's an extra gear that you have but you just can't quite tap into it on your own. So if you're a guy that's thought about it intermittently over the last couple of years, I lovingly encourage you to think about it a little bit more seriously, especially if you're a young guy. If you do 3-4 years in the military, there is no way that across the span of your life that is going to do anything other than push you forward. It is not delaying your career progression by 4 years or anything like that. You can do everything that you want to do. Life is not short, life is long if you live it deliberately, and I genuinely believe front-loading those lessons and that experience with some time, with some shared adversity and struggle, and learning to laugh at your own suffering is something that will seep out and make you stronger and make you better and make you more successful and make you a stronger, more healthily masculine man through the rest of your life. Guys, I hope you did enjoy this video. If you did, please do smash that like button. Any questions on anything, put it down in the comment section below. I guarantee you at some point in the next probably 2 weeks, I will get back to you, because I literally have time scheduled in my calendar to get back to YouTube comments. If you have not yet done so, please do subscribe. Hell of a lot more awesome content on the way from you. And as always, guys, stay strong, stay healthy, stay awesome, and I'll see you in the next video.